Now before we start, if you guys enjoy this tutorial today, consider becoming a Patreon. You get access to awesome rewards and you also help me out to continue creating Minecraft mods, videos and more. So if you're interested, link in the description below. Hey guys, what's up? It's Mr. Crayfish and welcome back to my device API tutorials. Today we're going to be checking out item lists. So we're continuing our series here by taking a look at all the different types of components in the device API, and specifically today we are looking at item lists. So item lists are basically a way to create a list of objects. So let's take a look at what an item list is. So if we actually go into the example application here, you'll see over here we have an item list, and it's basically a list of objects. So right in this example version here, we actually have a list of strings. Nothing too crazy, but let's take a look at our final product, which we're going to be developing today. But there's also a little bit more to it as well if you watch this tutorial till the end. But when we actually click on one of these names here, so let's click on George here, it actually displays more information about George over to the right here. So it has his name in yellow. We have his date of birth underneath his name. A little bit difficult to see, but this is just for tutorial purposes. And then under that we have his address. So we can click on any of these items here. We can scroll down a little bit here as well. We got Adam, we got Lucy, we got Henry, we got Georgia. So this is actually a pretty standard user interface component that you'll see in a lot of applications. For example, let's just say like Windows Explorer. You've got a list of files. This is basically what this is. So you could have a list of files here with all information about it. Maybe not as advanced as it, but just as an example, it could be like a list of files or something like that. Now, I am covering everything about item lists in this tutorial today, so make sure you stick around to the end because I also do cover about custom list item renders and also how to sort all the items as well. So let's go ahead, let's get into this right now. Alrighty, so let's go ahead, let's start this off now. I've actually changed the theme of my application. Now it is actually in a dark theme. So if you watched the two previous tutorials, you would have seen that it would have been a light theme, but now I've kind of switched to a dark theme. So still I recommend watch this in 1080p. I'm actually shooting in 60 FPS now, so it should be super duper high quality for you guys. But yeah, what we're going to do is just clean up this here. So this is our tutorial application so far. We're actually going to get rid of some of these here. So I'm actually going to be keeping these URLs here. I'm just going to be getting rid of pretty much all this inside of the method here. So pretty much have a blank application right here. And if you haven't watched the first couple of tutorials, make sure you check them out so you know how to create an application and all that type of stuff. Alrighty, so let's start this off right now. So we're going to create our item list. So let's go item list. And then we need to give it a type argument. So we just want to have a item list of strings right now. You can have your own custom objects, and we will be doing that later in this tutorial. Let's just call this item list names or something like that. So I think just for now we're just going to have a item list with names in it. And let's go new item list. And then the arguments here are left, top, width, and visible items, or left, top, width, visible items, and show all. Now, if you have show all to false, basically what it means is that it will actually make the height of the item list depending on how many items are in the list. So if you have 5 visible items, but you only have 2 items in the actual list, it's going to make it the height of the 2 items. However, if you have show all to true, it's going to make the item list the height of the visible items. So keep that in mind when you're choosing which one. So we're going to go 5, 5 for the left and the top there. Our width is going to be 80, and then visible items we might do 6. Now I'm pretty sure by default show all is actually true, but let's go ahead and double check that. Okay, oh yeah, it is. Okay, so it is there. Let's go back. Show all is actually true. And then, yeah, we basically created our item list. Let's go ahead, let's add some items to it. So item list names, add, and let's just add some names here. Let's go like George. Let's do another one here, add all. Let's do Georgia. Just the same name, just the female version of it. Let's do Henry. I don't know what names to put in here. Item list names, add Lucy. All right, so that seems pretty good so far. And then we're actually just going to use the default layout here, so we can just simply just go super.add component item list names, but you might want to use it and add it into your own custom layout. So I mean, it's completely up to you how you do it. I would recommend putting it into your own custom layout instead of using the default one, because the default one can work for certain things, but only for really basic applications. And now we're pretty much good to go. We can actually get rid of that argument there, and let's load this up. So let's go into our tutorial application now, and we should see here, have a look at this. We now have an item list with all those names in it. So we have George, Georgia, Henry, and Lucy's. So what I want to do next is when I actually click on one of these names, I want to display information about these people. So let's say I click on George here. I want to display his name over to the right here, his date of birth, maybe his address. Maybe this is a list of students here. So we have their name, date of birth, their address, and I think that should be enough information about that. So what we're going to do is go back into the code here, and let's see how we can actually do this. So we're going to go back to our item list here, and what we need to first do is change this string argument here, the type argument for item list, into a custom object, because we need to store their name, we need to store their date of birth, and then we also need to store their address as well. So that's going to require a custom object. Alrighty, so over here what we're going to do is create a new package. Let's go, let's call it object, and then inside of that package we're going to do new Java class, and let's just call this student. So as I mentioned, we're going to need a name, we're going to need a date of birth, so let's just call this Dob, and then private, and another one is address. Alrighty, and then let's go ahead, let's just generate the code here. So let's right click, generate constructor, select all those, press OK, and then we're also going to create some getters here. So pretty much these are final. You can't modify these values, which is fine. We're not doing anything super crazy advanced today. But let's go back to application. We'll go back to our application class, and let's change around this string here to that student object. So there we go. And then we need to create these new student objects. So let's just start from fresh here. Oh no, we want to keep these names actually. We want to keep these names. Let's just comment them out, and let's add them again. So item list students dot add item, and then new student. Alright, here we go. I've added the rest of the students here. So Georgia, born on the 5th of the 3rd, 98, and lives on 53 Cracker Road. Henry, 12th of the 12th, 85, and lives on 2 Bread Avenue. And then Lucy here, born on the 25th of the 6th, 1992, lives on 36 Mustard Circuit. So pretty amazing street names there if you ask me. Obviously they might live in, maybe this is a school or something that is in one suburb, so they don't really worry about keeping the actual, postcode or the town that they live in. Let's go ahead, let's start up the game here, because there's going to be an interesting problem occurring right now, and we're going to fix it up, because this is something that you'll have to do if you do implement a custom object to it. So if we actually bring up the tutorial application now, you'll see in the list here we have these strange strings. We no longer have the names, but in fact we have the object and their hash code. This is what is technically in these lists now, is the object and the hash code. And basically what that is doing is it's actually calling the toString method inside of the object. And because in student we actually haven't overridden it, it's going to use the default Java implementation. So to fix that up, we've got to override the toString method in student here. So if we just go down to the bottom here, let's go type in toString here, let's override that, and then let's simply return our name here. And we're going to have to restart the game as well. So restart that right now. I always recommend running debug mode, just because it's going to be useful for if we change any code on the fly, you don't actually have to reload it, except for when you add in new methods or delete them. Then you're going to have to reload your game. But you probably already know that already. Alright, so let's go into here now, and you'll see that the list is now back to normal. So we have the names in the list here. Pretty good. But next what we need to do is actually make it so it displays, you know, the name George over here, his date of birth, and then also his address. So what we're going to do is close this off right now. We're probably gonna, okay, we don't actually have to restart the game. Let's just keep that open right there. What we need to do is add some more components to our application. So as I said, we want to have a name at the top here. So what we're going to do is use the label component. So if we type in label here, make sure you get the correct one because there is a lot of a lot of implementations of it. It should be the one from Mr. Crayfish Device API app component. Click on that. We're going to call this label name equals new label, and then we're going to have some arguments here. So you'll have text. So we're actually going to set this to empty, an empty string. We need to give it a left and a top. So maybe for the left here, we'll give it, I think, 90, and then for the top, we're going to give it 5. And we're also going to set scale, and we're going to set this to a 2.0 scale, so it's double the size. And let's go ahead, super.add component label. Alrighty, so we've got the label there. Now we actually need to put this above, otherwise we're not actually going to be able to have access to it. So let's pop that there. Alright, so what we want to do next is simply change this label here when we actually click on one of the students. So we're going to go down here, and we're going to go item list students dot set item click listener. Let's go new item click listener here. We're going to convert that into lambda just because it's a lot cleaner. And then this might not be for you, but if it is, we're going to change around these parameters here. So the second one is actually index, and then this third one is mouse button. So you can control this click listener however you like. So maybe you want to do something when you actually right click it instead of left clicking. So we're actually going to go if mouse button equals 0, so that's for left click. What we want to do is label name.set text, and then we've got the instance of the student that we clicked. So we'll go student.getName, and there we go. So let's go ahead and let's start up the game now, and we should see that, oh, you don't even have to start it up again. We're running debug mode here. All we have to do is just close this off, restart the application here, and if we click on George, hey, there we go. We got George displaying, Georgia, Henry, and also Lucy. Maybe we'll change around the text color as well. That might be interesting to do. So let's go label name dot set. I think set text color, and let's just do like a basic, you know, something that's already in Java here. Let's go maybe like yellow. Is there like a yellow somewhere? Here we go, yellow. All right, let's restart that. Let's do it now. Okay, that looks pretty cool. That looks really cool. Next, what we want to do is display the date of birth under here. So we're going to go ahead, and what we're going to do is create another label, of course. So that's label name. This is going to be label date of birth, and then we're going to have a label address. So let's go dob, change all these around. Maybe we won't have this one as yellow. Let's do this one as just kind of, let's just remove the color. Let's remove the color. Or make it like, is that like light gray? Yeah, there is, cool. And then this one is going to be label address. And then let's not have any color on this last one here. We're also going to remove the scale on these. The height of this, let's do like 20 from the top, and then maybe this one will be 30 from the top. Okay. And make sure we add these two. So back down here in our item click listener, what we need to do is update label date of birth. So set text student get date of birth, and then finally label address dot set text student get address. There we go. So let's recompile that, and let's load back up the game here. If you guys don't know how to recompile, I probably should have mentioned that. All you have to do is go into, I think, build here, click on recompile. I've actually configured mine to be Control-Shift-S just to make it easier. And then we go back here, load up the app again, and let's click on a name now. And whoa, that's looking all right so far. We think we need to move this down another 5 pixels. So let's go 25 here. Let's go maybe 36 here. Let's have a look what that looks like now. So let's just reload this. Okay, that's looking pretty good so far. So we've got George. He lives on 10 Cheese Street. Let's go to Henry here. That's looking pretty good. 2 Bread Avenue. I'm starting to get hungry here. So there we have a basic example of how you can utilize an item list. Now we're going to take a look at some other things right here as well, because we actually haven't really covered all the stuff that you can do with item lists. So if we take a look at item list here, you'll see that there is actually some more methods that you can use. So we have set items, so you can easily set a list of items, set the items that are in the item list here real easily using that method. We have a set loading. Let's go ahead and set loading to true here. Now this is useful in case you are doing some asynchronous tasks. So let's say you're requesting something over the internet. You don't really know when you're going to get the data back. So what you can do is indicate to the user that something is loading here. So if you actually go back into here, you'll see that we have this kind of loading thing above here. We can't click on this at all. It's trying to load something. So that's if you're doing something like loading data off the internet, which might be useful to your application. And if you want to get rid of it, you can, obviously do set loading false once you've received your data, and then it will be back to your, this list that you can actually interact with. So that's a cool thing you can do with those. Let's go item with students. Let's have a look what we've got here. We've got a remove all, so you can remove all items from it. We can get the selected item. You can set the background color. You can set the selected index, so which item is actually selected through the code here. Remove an item. You can sort it. So maybe let's sort these by the actual names, by alphabetical order. So we're going to create a new comparator here. So this would just be student 1. Whoopsie, let's do this right. Student 1, student 2. So we're doing some lambda here. And then we need to return, I think it's student1.getName.compare to student2.getName. Alrighty, so that should return. Let's make this, oh, that's even easier. Have a look at that. I love Java. Let's go back here, and if we load up our list here, as you can tell, this is now in alphabetical order. And let's actually, properly test that out. Let's add in maybe someone called Adam at the top here, born in 85. Maybe he's born on the 8th or the 4th or the 4th or the 4th. And he lives on 10, or maybe maybe he lives on like 17 Butter Road. Let's save that. Let's load this up again, and he technically should be at the bottom of, the top of the list here. And just to test that out correctly, if we actually put this entry at the bottom here, we should see that he is still at the top there, even though we added him at the bottom here. Conveniently, this was actually already in order, so just to put Adam at the bottom there kind of proves that the sorting is actually working already. So that's something you can do with that. Maybe we can sort it by who's got the whose house number is actually the lowest. So we could do something like, let's do this again here. We're going to have to actually create a custom one. So student 1, student 2. We'll sort it by who's actually got the lowest house number. So, and then what we need to do is get the house number. So we could do something like this. We could do like string, let's just say address data 1 equals student1 dot getAddress.split, and then we'll split it by the spaces. So splitting it by the white space, that's a good way to do it. It's using regular expressions there. So that's for student 1. Let's do student 2. And then what we need to do is then convert the number, or convert the first index in these arrays here to an integer, because that would be the house number. So we're going to go int house number 1 equals integer pass int, and then we're going to go address data 1 at index 0. Let's do that again, and let's change around that, and then we're going to return house number, take house number 2. I'm pretty sure that should work. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at this right now. All right, let's get back. So they should be sorted by the lowest now. So as you can see, Henry has got the lowest house number at 2. We then got George at 10, Adam at 17, Lucy at 36, and then Georgia at 53. So Georgia is last there because has the highest number. So it's just sorting from lowest to highest. One more thing I want to show you guys is that you can actually change how the item actually renders in the list here. So what we might want to do is display their name, but then also display their date of birth under them as well in the list here. So maybe we want some more details about them in the list here, but then over to the right here is kind of the full details. So you could obviously add more stuff. Maybe they have like a favorite quote or something like that. Maybe they have a favorite color. You could add that into the actual student object and then display it over to this right side here. But let's go ahead. Let's actually change around how these render in the list here. So let's go back into the code, and we're going to have item the students here, set, where is it? Set list item renderer. So let's go new list item renderer. And then in here, we actually need to give it some an argument here, because what we need to do is set how high this is going to be. So I think by default, it's I think like 12 or 14. I'm not really sure which one it is, but what we're going to do is do like 20. I think 20 should be a good height. And then we're going to do GUI.drawString. We might even just do render util here. So this is a class you can use if you want to, and we can say draw string clipped. So let's go student, oopsie, draw string student dot get name. Next one will be the X position. So we need to utilize the parameters here. Now this doesn't really show it. I'm gonna fix this up though. But if we go to item list renderer here, where is it? Okay, hold up. It's here somewhere. It's here somewhere. Okay, here we go. I've got the actual parameters here and their description. So this is the X, Y, width, height, and selected. So we need to make sure we utilize these X and Y positions, because these will change depending on the position in the list. So let's go X, Y here. The width of the list. So we actually specified, what's at the top here? 80 as the width. Maybe we want to have a 5 padding on each side of the item here, so let's go 70 instead. We need to select a color, so maybe we'll just go color white, and then we need to get RGB, and then the shadow, let's go true here. Now we have some other parameters here, such as selected, because if you actually decide to override the item list renderer, you actually need to handle whether or not to render a kind of selected background. So let's do that right now. So let's go GUI draw, I think, oh, where is it? I think it's just GUI, hold on, like this, GUI draw rect, and then we're gonna do X, Y, X plus width, and then Y plus height, and then the color. So this width and this height came from the parameter up here, just so you guys know. Make sure it is coming from that. And then here we need to specify the color. So we're gonna do what is known as a ternary, I think it's a ternary statement or something like that. Basically, it's an inline if statement to put it in any other words. So we say if selected, question mark, we're going to return the color light gray. Oh no, sorry, let's do gray dot get RGB. Otherwise, just return color dot light gray dot get RGB. So if it's not selected, we're going to have a lighter version. If it is selected, we're going to have a darker gray for it. Then I also said what I want to do is display the date of birth under their name. So let's grab that. We're also going to actually add some padding onto this, so +5 onto there, and then maybe just plus like 2 on the Y there. Let's copy this line, and we want to display the date of birth. So get date of birth. Let's keep the X at 5. We just need to change the Y around here, so maybe plus 12. And we'll change around this color here to, let's say, is there like a dark gray? Yes, there is. Okay, that's going to be interesting. And then maybe we'll have the shadow set to false as well. And there we go. We've got a custom item list renderer set up here. And if we actually go ahead and we restart this, yeah, it's looking it's looking a little bit interesting. Let's make sure that we did actually do that as false, didn't we? Or is that a glitch? Is that a glitch in my mod? Oh no, there it is. It's working now for some reason. That was a little bit strange. Alrighty, now you might notice an issue that the item list is actually going off the screen now. That can be fixed by reducing the amount of visible items or making the layout longer. So what we're going to do is go back to here and change the visible items. We might do it to 4 instead. And let's go back, reload this, and as you can see, we now have this. So you'll notice that we now have kind of this sidebar here, or this scroll bar here now, because there are actually too many items in the list. And you'll see when we actually click on these, it is drawing our background correctly, depending on, you know, if it's selected or not. And yeah, it seems to be working now, and we can definitely see the date of birth under it, which matches the one on the right side here. And there we go. That is pretty much a custom list item renderer. Let's see, and let's just take a look and see if there's anything else that I want to cover in this, because I'm pretty sure I've covered pretty much everything that you would want to know in this tutorial. Obviously there's some other stuff like set border color, set text color. This is kind of just for the default stuff, but if you guys want to go even more custom, obviously you want to utilize a custom list item renderer. We have this kind of standard set enabled, set visible methods, and it looks like that is pretty much it. So hopefully you guys have learned how to create item lists today and utilize them to their fullest potential, because I've covered all the important stuff in this tutorial today. But that is going to end off this tutorial today, guys. Again, I want to mention my Patreon, so there's a link in the description below, and any kind of pledges really help me out a lot. I think I've spent like an hour recording this episode today, so you know, to have any sort of support over there, any amount of money really helps out. And I appreciate all the people that have actually pledged so far. There's like a ton of, I think there's like 8 premium people, which is absolutely insane. So thank you guys so much for your support over there already. But you can also find the source code for these tutorials over on there as well if you're pledging at least $1. So pretty simple. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial today. I'm not really sure what we're going to do next, but I think we're just going to continue with looking at all the different types of components that are available in the device API. But thanks for joining me today. I will see you guys for the next video. Bye.